I'd say the months leading up to the IPO would have been the most hectic time. Finally raised the capital, but as you can see, the loan book has grown, and that capital is now on the road working. So, the work doesn't stop. It's all about how do we keep growing.
Thanks for that. And I realized that, well, I guess I would say promise made, promise kept, because the question that we had from the last Stocks on the Rocks is that $250 million, how fast do you think that you can get that out of your bank account and transform into loans? And I
Right.
realized the loan book has increased from 870 million to over a
Oh,
billion. To over a billion. I think this is the first time you've crossed a billion. So
yeah,
congratulations as well. So you
man.
effectively lent out
All of the
most,
money from the,
all.
I'd say what we've tried to do just to manage our liquidity is just to have like a reserve. So we always have a minimum cash balance. So, but if it wasn't for that management strategy, I would probably, if you notice, the last quarter before we listed, our bank balance was at about $2 million, Simon. And the reason for that is we were just trying to meet the demands of the loans that were coming in. So you find that we just unlend all the money in the bank account. But since then, we've decided to be a bit more prudent and ensure that we kept a buffer. So you see that we had a cash balance of about $80 million. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a need for that 80 million. So you there, Simon?
Oh, sorry. I was saying, so that's basically like a risk mitigant, just to have a buffer there. Because
Correct.
I had that question for you, So my general understanding of the business is you want to ensure that every single dollar is working. So when I saw the 80 million on the books, I was kind of wondering. So that's a good explanation. Of that. How has the Guyana experience been since you've listed?
Um, Guyana has been great. I think I actually have let me look and see. So recently had a board meeting. So right now, in terms of Guyana's profit before tax is at about 12.5 million per month. That's in Jamaican dollars, by the way. In Guyanese, it will be a lot more. And the loan book in Guyana is at about 100 million, which works out to like 137 million Guyanese. So right now, Guyana profits account for about 9% of the overall profits of the company. I think the only issue that we're having now is that we need more money to unlend. So just to continue the growth trend.
Kadeen, I realized that there was, and I get, probably it was a direct strategy of the leadership of the company. A part of the funding that you received pre-IPO came
Mm-hmm.
directly through US dollars through some strategic partners. Is
Correct.
it that you foresee that to fund the Guyana, it would be easier to fund directly in the US and then transfer rather to fund in Jamaica?
Yeah, because what happened is that the Guyanese dollar is a lot more stable than the Jamaican dollar. So the Guyanese dollar from say 2012 to today's date has been around 200 to 1. So there's not much FX risk in terms of movement. So Guyana borrowing in US dollars isn't a big risk, Simon. But you know how
Mhm.
it goes when consolidation time comes. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's kind of like we kind of still have to manage it. It's we don't take a big hit, but it still exists.
Okay, good. Another thing that, and I keep trying to link back to what you would have already said publicly, because naturally on this forum, and just to put it out there, you can't say anything that is non-public, right?
Correct.
Yes. So you would have said before that when we asked about the branches that Dollar will roll out, you said, look, we can roll out branches and we have branches in mind, and this is something that we're going to do. Matter of fact, you said that the Dollar team has brought it down to such a craft in opening a branch that once you have the location, you can retrofit that location in a very short period of time.
Correct.
So the Portmore location that you announced that will be done by third quarter, is this a early third quarter or a late third quarter? This is closer to September, or is it something that's closer to opening now?
Yeah, I think I hearing. I'm not sure if it's my. I think I hearing a feedback.
I hear it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me try to fix that. All right, so everybody else except Kadeen, could you just mute, please? Hold on, Kadeen. I'm gonna check if it's from your side. Give me. Oh no, hold on. Mute. Oh, is
It's
that
gone
better?
now. Yeah, man, it's
Oh,
gone.
all right. Somebody was unmuted. You can go ahead, Kadeen.
Yeah,
Portmore.
no. In terms of Portmore, I mean, I think we had mentioned it in the director's report to the shareholders. That in terms of branch expansion, we're looking at the Portmore branch, which is expected to open third quarter. Third quarter could mean next week at this point, or the week after. I think that we have some more strategic decisions to make, and I'd point to our bank balance, Simon, because the truth is, we're at this point now, we're back to lending from cash inflows from repayments. I mean, based on the business model so far, we're able to unlend close to between 150 to 200 million a month in loans, right, Simon? And what the IPO did for Dollar is, if somebody never know about Dollar before, them know about Dollar now. So the demand for loans has increased significantly. I'd say probably 5 to 10 fold. Just because of the marketing behind it and what the IPO has done for the brand. So I think the main aim now is to figure out how do we supply the demand for loans that we are expecting and we are currently experiencing as well. As you open a Portmore branch, that there's going to be a high demand there as well. So those are just some things to consider. Opening a branch is the easy part.
Yeah, yeah. So actually having the cash to flow through that branch. Now that leads perfectly into my other question. So well, we would have known that Dollar was working closely with VM Wealth Management through VM Investments.
Correct.
And part of the strategic initiatives here, I don't know if it was deliberate, is to state that Dollar has officially onboarded VM Wealth as their corporate financial advisors. We know that
Correct.
VM has access to the pool of funds in the VM group, and as such, having a corporate financial advisor and a shareholder now. I saw 35 million units with VM in the quarter. Yeah, man, we read the thing, yeah, man, we have it, man. So my question is is it in the works to get additional? So you got equity. Is debt in the works or more equity in the works for your business?
Well, as you said earlier before, until it is public knowledge, I mean, what I can say is that we have engaged VM, and all fingers will point to us needing more capital. We just raised $250 million, and it's definitely not in the bank account. And we see it reflected in the loans, receivables, or the loan portfolio. So you raise that 250, I'd say less all of the expenses, 150 of that went right back to the loan book. So if we're supposed to continue at that trend, there has to be another formal raise that needs to be done, just to ensure that we continue the growth trajectory.
Boy, I would want to take a lot from that and probably press to say this is a APO, a right issue, or just a straight debt raise. But
What would you do, Simon?
yeah, well, I mean, we can talk about that personally, but no that you have the momentum. I know some of the investors in here would probably say, boy, Kadeen, you need to come back for some money because you left $4 billion on the table. You left $4 billion on the table. So there is clearly some goodwill
Yeah.
out there in the investor market, particularly in retail, but certainly in the institutional market for what Dollar is doing and what is expected to do. But Kadeen, the last time we spoke, I didn't mention your largest listed competitor because there are large unlisted competitors as well.
Mhm.
That company is also poised to benefit from some of the same headwinds that you're looking at with Dollar as well. Now,
Mhm.
how has Dollar strategically invested in its business to have what we call a comparative advantage versus the rest?
Well, I mean, Simon, you said that you always look at the numbers, right? In terms of the loan quality, the strategy, the net earnings, the delinquency. I think, I think in terms of competitive advantage, I don't think we have any competition. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, based on the numbers are relatively attractive from a fundamental base as it pertains to your non-performing, particularly the efficiency ratio, etc. And I think uh, uh, what I've realized and what I picked up as well in kind of comparing financials is that, and let me even jump to it now, so I know exactly what I'm saying. Over the In March, your interest expense was about 12.8, call it 13 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your interest expense last year for the 6 months was about 23 million. But your interest expense for this June is 13.7 million. So a
Right.
majority of the churn and the growth that you've been able to get in your profitability has come what seems straight from equity. So you've been growing the business relatively quote unquote cheaply
Mm-hmm.
versus those competitors that have grown by debt.
By that, well, Simon, to be fair, um, in financial services, whether it's a bank, microfinance company, um, it's not uncommon to see a high leverage in terms of debt to equity, where the company mostly grow on debt because the real strategy is to take money, borrow money, and unlend that money at a higher margin. That's the business model. So it's not uncommon for somebody or for companies, just like the bank, right? The bank borrows the depositors' money and then they unlend it. So that's not, it's not uncommon. I mean, our balance sheet is strong now in terms of our net assets. But what that does for us is it will give us an opportunity to leverage that as well.
Ah, indeed. Okay. So let me just take a question from the chat. So the first question is, so congratulations on the successful raise and introduction to the market. Can you tell us more about the $1 billion bond that is said Dollar will be raising as published in IT Insider? Will it be put towards any concrete acquisition targets, or is it primarily to fund organic expansion of the loan book and the location build-outs?
The truth is, I have not seen that I see insider article.
Mm.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I'd have to read it to understand what they're saying. But I guess if somebody is writing something that they would have put the information out there. But I can't comment on that. I haven't seen that article, to be honest. Just being honest, to be honest.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. All right. Thanks for that, Kadeen. So we're going to somebody just share it in the chat, please. if we haven't already, so the team have access to that. Because that's in the circles, So what's being said in the retail market is that look, we've seen what a growth in the loan book has done for Dollar Four. Last year, June, the book was $370 million. Their profitability at that point for the 6 months was just 20, was I think 21 million. Now
And you
this
saw
year,
what happened when we did the bond raise, what effect that had on the business last year.
exactly. So that's why the question was asked. Because
Mm-hmm.
if that is so and that is true and there is debt being raised, then that could mean that this loan book could almost double in the near future again. And you would have mentioned that you can do up to probably about $200 million in loans per month across your branches. With the addition of more branches in high populous areas, it's not far-fetched to believe that can be deployed pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're on point, Simon. If I go in on a vacation, you could actually run the company as a CEO.
just cool them, man. Mine Trevine here. Trevine, I know I take a job. Don't worry at all. All right. So to I wanted to touch on the cash flow of the business, and I have an understanding of this, but I think it's better coming from you as a CEO.
Okay.
Now, usually when we see negative operating cash, that's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar has negative operating cash. Hold on, who is that? Oh yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
dollar has negative operating cash for the 6 months ended June of about 174 million, which has grown since the period last year, which was just 31 million. The IPO did support that with 250 million. Is it negative operating cash a bad thing?
No, so it go back to the point that I was making earlier, Simon. The business is very simple, right? um, the first thing that you want to do is meet the demand of the customers. Now, we also have, for example, um, what do you call line of credits with financial institutions that if at any point the demand for loans is high, or the demand for loans is greater than our bank balance, then we're able to go into a line of credit facility to access funding to unlend. So it's definitely not uncommon. At the end of the day, the key indicators for a business like this is the loan portfolio, your net income, and what the delinquency is like. Um, looking at debt to equity or negative cash flow, it's not necessarily one of the, in other businesses it might be businesses that are probably more distribution businesses, etc. But in a business like this, it's not uncommon and it's not something that is per se bad. The key thing is to ensure that a business like this, you always have to continue raising capital, and that's just the truth if you want to continue growing the business.
Thank you for that, and Kadeen. Because I mean, so retail investors who aren't always as exposed to financial statements as we are would see that, for example, with a company that sells physical goods, and say,
Correct.
boy, this company that's selling doors, for example, if your operating cash is negative, that means that you would have to find that cash from somewhere. So where you're saying is that by being a financial institution and having lines of credit, meaning access to cash from other financial institutions, that's not a problem for you. And remember at the top, Kadeen will have also mentioned that there is also a buffer in the cash of about $80 million. So if it is that he hires staff, Trevine is a highly skilled person, and Trevine's salary have to pay, then it can pay Trevine salary out of that, or if anything comes up for that month, it can be paid out of
Yeah,
that.
because the difference is that cash is the inventory of this business, Simon, similar to a man that distribute doors or inventory is cash. So how we manage that inventory is a lot different from a hard or physical good.
Yeah, man, on point. Somebody had boy, this the exact same question that I had. So this report was released in a record time. This is some main market big company type of states to release a quarterly report, and on top of the quarterly report being released on time, the discussion or the director's report is relatively detailed compared to other junior market listings, and provides high level, you know, things related to your company like non-performing loans, efficiency, expected credit loss ratio. Are we to expect this pace in financial statement release going
Reporting.
forward?
I mean, Trevine is on the call, but who is our CFO? She does most of the heavy lifting when it comes to the preparation of the financial statements with the accounting team, which then has to go to our credit to our audit committee, and then it has to go to our board of directors to get approved. The thing for us, Simon, is we have something called Parkinson's law. The amount of time that you're given to complete a task is the amount of time that you will take. So the law really states that if you get 45 days to prepare a report, typically people are going to wait until the 45 days to deliver that report. If you only had 20 days, then you would have done it in 20 days. So, you know, just a part of our culture is we set our standards in terms of how we deliver, the level of work that we deliver, the pride that we take in delivering the work. So prior to us being a listed company, we would have had our management accounts being prepared by the 8th of each month. And you know, our board of directors, our committee members, these are dedicated people who will meet to review and go through financial statements. So I set aside in terms of if this is what is being expected, it's definitely a standard that we intend to keep. We don't want to be a company that's sending out a notice to say that, you know, unfortunately, we're asking for an extension after 45 days to deliver our quarterly numbers. That's not the level of work or the expectation or the standard that we have at Dolla.
Thanks for that, Kadeen. Kadeen, given the pace in growth thus far, and from what I'm picking up from what you're saying, and are probably not saying, the pace in growth expected in the future, do we should investors be looking out for dividends this year?
So what I'd say, I like to speak very simple, Simon. So what I would say is the question would be, you know, of course, dividends is determined by the board of directors, but you know, if the business has a high demand for its product or its loans, would you pay the dividend or would you unlend that money to make more money on it? You know, because dividend is cash coming from the bank account. So there's a lot to consider when, you know, in terms of, you know, whether a dividend is being declared or not. So the aim is to ensure that, you know, we're highly liquid, we're meeting the high levels of demand for loans. And then I guess at that point, you know, the board of directors will say, hey, look, we're in a good position now and we'd like to declare some dividends. But I'd like to add as well, we have a lot of long-term shareholders. I've listened, I've read what the shareholders have to say. A lot of shareholders are holding for the long term. And, you know, it's always good to get a check, a dividend check that you can actually bring to the supermarket, you know?
Yeah. I definitely understand that. So, there was a question about Portmore. So, read the Portmore branch. Will it be predominantly staffed by residents of Portmore? I get the person that's asking this is probably from Portmore.
Okay, so we actually have members of the team, Simon, that actually who work at the head office in Barbican. that actually reside in Portmore. So I mean, it's just a management decision what the team will look like. Probably you'll have persons from, you know, the head office location being promoted to run that location. It just all depends. And of course, if we're recruiting, it's a highly populated area. I'm sure in terms of recruiting and getting skill set shouldn't be a big challenge. And we already have a training team in place, so I'd say for sure it'd probably be a mix, but definitely persons from Portmore will be working at the Portmore location.
Thank you, Kadeen. So for those that just joined us, all right. So for those that just joined us, if you have any questions, you can just place the questions in the chat. Could everybody else just mute, please? Everybody except Kadeen. Hold up. All right, cool. Yeah, so you can just place the questions in the chat. My next question is read the Microfinance Act. Has there been any update from the BOJ as it pertains to those who are approved or not approved, or any indications?
Well, in short, in regards to that, we submitted our complete application from around January. So we have been in dialogue with BOJ, and they have communicated that, you know, they will ensure that, you know, even if the Bank of Jamaica is not ready to start issuing the licenses, that we will have whatever documentation that we need to continue doing our business. So I guess that's just safe to say that from our end, all is well.
Okay, excellent. Let me just take a few seconds to say thanks to the 69 people that have joined thus far, the participants. Really appreciate you being here. We plan to continue to have discussions like this with executives of listed and maybe unlisted companies as well. If you have any questions, feel free for Kadeen. I know there are a few shareholders in here. So Kadeen, we would have actually recently asked which shareholders, which CEOs do you guys want to see show up, on your name and company came up as well. In another group, somebody said, "Boy, I think what you want to hear about, you know, we hear some this one, yeah, we hear some this of the thing there, you know." So I was told that that's for another conversation. So that's just from us. So is there what?
I have a sorry, Simon. I have a question. You can hear me?
Yeah, man, go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Bless up, Kadeen. So the question that I have is also related to the Microcredit Act and what the industry is looking to look like post when that is in full effect. Has Dolla thought about, you know, acquiring some of these smaller firms yet, or that's on the cards?
Trevor, I mean, just by, and I'm speaking purely as just a businessman, just based on organic growth alone, as you can see in 1 month what that was done, you know, we're gonna have to raise a lot of money for what is expected when the consolidation of the market begins. I think it's slow in coming, but for certain, a lot of companies are just going to decide to sell. So we just want to ensure that we're capitalized when that opportunity comes.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
So, Kadeen, realize that there are a few, what I would say, strategic investors in the top 10. So this is the first look that we've got at the shareholder base. So we're seeing. So, well, naturally, we would have already known that First Rock is already there, the equity was already there. We would have assumed that VM, you know, would have taken some form of participation in the IPO that they did. We're seeing Mairs Jamaica Equities Limited which you know is run by Mayberry Investments as an investment manager, and also Mayberry's CEO as well. We know that Mayberry is also linked to another microfinance outfit as well. Are there any potential synergies in play between the Deputy First Rock team and the Mayberry team?
No, I would not say that. I think that just like everybody else, you know, being a shareholder means that you believe in what the company is doing. And I guess it's just a great investment opportunity. I mean, I'm sure we see the communications from a lot of, you know, prominent financial institution leaders, and I just think that personally, they just love what the company is doing. I think it's a good thing for the equities portfolio. I don't think it's anything strategic per se to be looking into it so deeply. Um, I just think that people just see it as a good stock, a good long-term stock, and I think that they've made the investment on that basis.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, we have another question. Is there a strategy for Dollar to make loans using electronic means rather than through brick and mortar, or similar to what SVL and Carolyn are looking to do?
Okay. Good question. I mean, our strategy has always been different. And the truth is, when something is working for you, you know, you want to continue doing it on that trend. So, in terms of using technology, we're very, in terms of our back office and our operations, I think we're probably the most savvy or the most ahead in terms of like our loan management system, accounting system, everything that we use to manage the company is cloud-based and it's run like that. We also give customers the option to, you know, apply for loans online. They can simply apply using their Instagram or Facebook. They can simply go to the website. They can upload the ID, the TRN. So, I mean, we have given those options, but at the end of the day, I mean, we have come to the acceptance that for the market that we lend to, these people actually like to come in and sit down and talk to somebody. They don't necessarily just want to go to an app and say they want 300,000 for their business. They might work in the market. They might want to come and sit down, because a lot of times we can give good feedback as well to a potential customer in terms of how to possibly structure them borrowing debt from the company versus them just going online, applying. We just looking at their income expense and deciding whether to grant the loan or not. A strength for us in terms of our delinquency is our customer relation. So we would never want to close our branch in Lucy because of the relationship that we have with our customers in Lucy. And the fact is that when a customer is having a challenge, they might just want to come in and sit down and explain what's going wrong with the loan so that they can get some feedback from us. So that face-to-face human aspect, it's a strength for us, and it's something that we don't see us you know, giving up for now.
Yeah, and I remember when we were at Palisado, so somebody had asked a similar question, and somebody shared that it is possible that because of this relationship management that you've done, that's why the non-performing loan ratio is relatively low for the type of business, you know.
Correct.
Okay, we have another question. So they're saying if basically all the money has been dispersed, where will the money come from to fund the new branches?
No, so you know, in terms of opening a new branch, Simon, and just to quickly break it out, for example, to rent a location, average just price per square footage, you're looking at a dollar location, average about 800 to 1,000 square foot. Rental for that will probably run at like 1,000 US, so that's probably like 150,000. The average branch may have a sales officer, you know, admin assistant. Everything is centralized, so you don't have to outfit a branch with an underwriting team, collections, etc. You just need the front face, the administrative, and the sales team. because they're the ones that actually run our branch. In terms of, operations total for our branch, you're looking at probably 750,000 per month. So I'm just trying to break that down to say that to open a new branch, the capital expenditure, drywall, etc., you probably spend $1 million. And I just said that to say capital expenditure for a new branch that you're leasing isn't a high overhead. Actually, the greatest demand or the greatest factor to consider is actually having enough money to meet the demand when the doors open. Because each person come in and they need 200,000, 250,000. You get 10 loans for the day. Can do the math. You probably need to be lending. You're probably going to be lending out at least $1 million a day, 5 million a month, $20 million a month. So you want to ensure that you have $20 million to lend to people when you open those doors, Simon. So the actual branch isn't the cost. It's having the money to unlend to meet the demands of the customer.
Thank you, Kadeen. So effectively, the upfront cost is relatively low, and the continuing cost is relatively low, and that money is already in your bank account. It's something that you already, because remember, guys, we would have mentioned that buffer. Kadeen mentioned the buffer on the balance sheet, which currently is about 80 million, and opening our branches, as Kadeen said, a fraction of that amount. So while you were talking, Kadeen, and I mean, you're just looking at scalability and outlook, so I'm not a tech person. I don't know how to ask this the fancy ways. I mean, I'll ask it very simple. How the system that you use to manage and issue and track your loans, if that is managing 50,000 clients, if you scale and business gets really good, can that system manage 500,000 clients?
Yeah, you're echoing Simon, but I'm not sure if it's somebody has the mic on. But yeah, I heard the question, Simon. So basically, the loan management system that we use is actually a banking platform. In essence, I don't know how much you know about like neobanks, but it's a platform that is used by international companies that launch online banks, and it's tested and proven, and international companies work with it. And it can manage way more than that you're talking about. It's actually a German platform, so it's managing. Their software is used to manage countries that have a population that is 50 million people, compared to Jamaica that has 2.73 million people. So in terms of the capabilities of the software, we haven't even used probably 0.5% of its total ability.
Okay. Thank you for that, Kadeen. So we've touched the 45-minute mark. I just wanted to start winding down, guys. If you have any, I know everybody want to go back to watch the races. But we just wanted to have a quick discussion, a check-in with Kadeen and the team, and we hope that this will become kind of an installment. So, another question. There are Instagram accounts for Dolla Belize, Dolla Panama. What's the timeline for venturing out into these new territories?
So I'd say the main thing, Simon, when considering new territories is understanding the landscape, understanding the legislations or the laws or rules in terms of operating business, spending time in these countries, understanding the barriers of entry, the macro, the micro, all of the factors that might exist. So for us, we're not just about just because we can go to a country, let's go there and open a location. You actually have to spend time in that country and understand what the culture is like. So in terms of, I mean, this is public knowledge. We are exploring a lot of other countries, just like we had with Guyana. We opened Guyana branch last year, but we incorporated there from around 2018. Right, Simon? So that just goes to show that incorporating is one, but you have to ensure that it's a right fit. You know, you can get your licenses, but you have to understand what it is like, because you're literally in the money lending business where you're handing money to somebody who will walk out the door and you're expecting them to walk back in with it. You know, so I have other things to consider, like barriers like language, etc. But as soon as we understand these cultures and we see where our business model fits into these countries, then a lot of these locations you'll see open over time.
Thanks, Kadeen. The next, well, somebody's asking that read the Portmore branch. Has that the actual location been identified?
Correct.
Okay.
Everything,
Can you
yeah.
let them know, or is it a no, not?
I mean, we'll make an announcement.
Okay.
We'll definitely make an announcement, but the location has been identified. We're just going to be doing the branding, etc., and
Okay.
staffing.
Yeah. From me, so on full disclosure, I'm a shareholder, guys. From me, and when I'm a shareholder of a company, even if it's just for a week or two, sometimes I like to think strategically about where the company can go, and if I have access for to the CEO or the executive team, I'll always throw ideas. The JC would have partnered with the Ghana Stock Exchange recently. I believe it was earlier this year. I know that different I've heard different people compare our Caribbean culture to the Western African culture and saying it's not significantly different. No, those countries are also very large in mobile money, which I'm going to ask you another question about. Has Dollar considered looking outside of the Caribbean, the traditional Caribbean regions, into what we would call non-traditional markets?
I mean, from a high level, I wouldn't say that we're pursuing it, but it's definitely something that we're curious about, Simon. You know, those countries that have high population, like a Nigeria, a Ghana, and where they have you know, mobile money is popular. It's definitely a different space. I think one of the first questions we ask is how long is the flight to get there? You know, so I think we'll always just focus on what is right in front of us and try to get that out of the way, and then we try to see how can we spread our wings further. But it's I like that feedback, and it's definitely something that's in our aspirations.
Okay, thank you. Well, final question from me, guys. Remember to put out your final questions. We want to keep this one tight. We know all want to have other engagements for the Sunday. The final questions from me is actually about mobile money. So we've seen where more and more financial institutions are starting their own wallets. Matter of fact, before the government, through the Bank of Jamaica, would have issued a Jamdex, which is basically a mobile form of currency, which is expected to have less hurdles for maybe some of the same type of clients that you have that are unbanked. Are there any has Dollar considered any form of synergy or thought around including that type of lending in their current lending model?
To be frank, no. And the reason for that is, you know, when it comes to mobile money and all of those things, it takes a while before the population catch on to it. And the last thing you want to do is expand, you know, allocate a lot of money towards this form of technology, and there's not a take up. And then you find that the investment is just sitting there, because it's one thing to say that, you know, mobile money is here and everything, but if you can't go to the car wash and use it, if you can't pay a man to change a tire, you can't pay the jerk chicken man with it, I mean, once we see that take up, because we know our customers, we know what they do with the money, we know the type of expenses that they pay. Once we see that outside of the consumer segment, the actual merchants exist, because it's one thing to have the customers, but you need merchants, you need everybody to be on board. Once we see that there's a take up, I guess that's when we would actually consider it. I mean, strategically for us, we're not, I wouldn't say we're hungry to be, first to market in something like that, because it has the name technology on it. Technology has a lot of costs, especially in a population that, it's small. The cost, you have to always weigh the cost in terms and the scalability in terms of the population as well. So we're watching it, we're conscious of it, but we are actually customer focused, so we go where the customers go.
Thanks, Kadeen. So I have another question coming in, and I guess I'll frame that one. So Dollar received the highest, I believe, dollar applications, no pun intended, for any junior market company. And to be fair, if you were to rank it across the main market, it would be larger than a lot of main market listings historically as well in terms of application. So $4 billion was left on the table, which means that there was a lot of demand out there. Now shareholders have been asking. So look, $4 billion was on the table. The expectation was that the price, that demand, would drive the price above $3, above $4, probably even up to $5. So investors have been asking, why is the price still fluctuating around $3? I don't know. This is stocks on the rocks. This is kind of where we get your feel of what retail investors, in particular, are all subgroups of investors, but particularly retail investors, are thinking about here, particularly those that are price focused.
Simon?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so you're asking my feedback on that?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, what I'll say to that, Simon, is it's not every day somebody gonna make 200% on their money, right? So a lot of people gonna get excited and sell naturally, and you can't blame a shareholder for doing that. But it's always good to think long term, and nobody wants to see something that just continues to spike. It's a natural trend. You have to just watch where it is trending. When you invest for the long term, then you get the long-term rewards and the rewards that come with being patient. So the truth is, Simon, I don't get up every day and check my stock price. Actually, I don't. Most times if somebody update me on where the stock price is. If I buy a stock, I buy Apple stock because I always buy Apple phone and I have an Apple laptop. I'll buy some Netflix stocks because my entire family uses Netflix. So people invest for different reasons and different strategies. So for me, it's all about what is the growth potential. When you buy a stock, you're buying into the future potential of the company. A lot of persons, I mean, it's a Jamaican culture, they want instant return. But put it this way, I mean, when NCB back in 2000, they were listed at a low, probably single digit, and it went to 100%. If you had held on to that stock for 10, 15 years, then that would be life changing. So it's always good to just be very strategic. Your investment philosophy is your own, and I listen to a lot of Warren Buffett and those guys who have generated wealth over time, and the strategies that I speak of are the strategies that they use. So I mean, if you believe that the dollar stock is a long-term stock, has a lot of potential, the team is there, the market is there, then I would just, continue believing and see how I can invest more in a company. So I can comment on a stock moving over 1 month, Simon, up and down. What I see is the grand scale. It has grown by 200% within a month, right? So it's all about the mindset.
Yeah, man, understood. Thanks for that clarity, Kadeen. So what I'd ask is there anything else that you wanted to share, with your investor base, at this moment in particular?
I just want to say that, Simon, me meeting with the shareholders is something that, even before I was a listed company, I'd appreciate if sometimes the CEOs of other companies would come out and speak to the CEOs of listed companies would speak more to the shareholders and just, be head on with some answers, Q&A. And I said that I'll start that myself by just, ensuring that shareholders don't have to wait a year later at AGM to ask a question. They can always have an opportunity to ask during the year. And that should be that's their right as a shareholder. So I just want to make myself available through whatever forum it is, just on a quarterly basis, speak on the numbers and the strategies that are disclosed, and just be a lot more involved with my shareholders.
Thank you so much, Kadeen. Somebody actually mentioned that in the chat that they're real and on Twitter actually. I think that it's very good to see CEOs, owners of the company sharing their thoughts, sharing their vision more frequently and across multiple platforms. I think that's where we should take the market if we really expect to improve governance and improve the depth of the market. So really appreciate that, Kadeen. You're always welcome Stocks on the Rocks on whatever form of medium. You're welcome at the mountain meetings. We have liquor and thing out there, so everything nice mountain. So guys, we really appreciate you joining in. Trevine, I see Trevine in the chat answering questions. So Trevine, thanks a lot for that. Sharian, thanks for organizing. Yeah, man, we really appreciate that, guys. Thanks for coming up. One, follow Dollar Financial on all platforms. Follow Kadeen on Twitter and on his public platforms as well. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Kadeen.
All right, thanks for having me, Simon. Yeah. And thanks to everybody who listened in.